No, impossible. Surely there's some mistake everywhere in this city. This den of jackals, men walk free of sin? An army of 777 holy warriors gazes across these dirty streets, searching for a single podcast, finding none.
Welcome back to another episode of Spawnography. I'm one of your hosts, Pierce Leiden. Pronouns they, them. Here with, as always,
George Marston, pronouns they, them, or she, her.
And hey, George.
Hey, Pierce.
We're getting back to the kingdom.
That's right. We are. Again, praise his holy name. Raise your hands to the
Talking
Lord.
about Simon Pure, right?
That's exactly right. Now, before we get into all that, we were just talking before we started recording about how we both saw the 4K re-release of the original 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film for its 35th anniversary, excuse me. And, man, I gotta say, we were just saying it. That movie holds up so well.
It's a movie where I don't care that I can see the seams in the suits every once in a while. I don't care that the shells will collapse a little bit because they're not hard shells. Every part of it's perfect.
It's so good. And I mean, even those things are achievements. Look, do you know how many fucking terrible continuity errors are in a movie like Braveheart? There's a scene in Braveheart in one of the climactic battles where, by the way, don't fucking watch Braveheart. It's all fake. It's propaganda made by a white supremacist, aka Mel Gibson. But anyway, there's a scene where Mel Gibson's fucking fake guy, real guy, but fake story of him, whatever his name is, William Wallace, would not do any of the things in this except die.
He didn't wear blue paint?
No.
He didn't moon?
No, not at all.
He didn't moon anybody?
None of that. The blue paint is, I think, predates this era by fucking 500 years. And it was actually the Picts, who were, I think, a northern Scottish, sort of lost kind of people. Anyway, there's a scene where fucking Mel Gibson as William Wallace is running through the battle and he's holding an axe. And then suddenly he's holding a sword. And then he's fucking holding an axe again. And that movie won Oscars.
Yeah, but Mel Gibson explained it after.
No, he literally didn't.
No, he did. It's a symbiote sword.
Oh,
so it can
I didn't
change.
realize that it was all black, the Necro sword.
Right.
They cut the scene where Nick Fury shows up to explain that.
Exactly. So,
my favorite
scene of the
1990 Turtles, by the way, is when he shows up and he's like, Splinter. And it just cuts to Splinter and he just turns around. And it's 1 second of a character we'll never see again, Nick Fury.
The funniest thing about that movie that I noticed this last time watching it is that a bunch of the characters really don't meet each other for very long swaths of the film. So when the Turtles face off against Shredder, they are cracking jokes about it because there's only 10 minutes left in the movie, but this is the first time that they're meeting him.
I mean, I think it works. It's kind of like Darth Vader in a way.
Oh, totally.
You see how his work is affecting what they're doing or whatever. I do think it's funny that the thing that drives him mad. I mean, I guess what really is that he can't kill them and stop them from messing with his enterprise. But it doesn't really explain what Shredder really cares about other than convincing teenagers to steal car stereos. Noble goal.
My brother was like, what's Shredder's deal? And I was like, he's trying to bring the Foot Clan back to relevance. I mean, that's really,
he's trying to fund his resurgence of the Foot Clan.
Yeah. Imagine he's a kingpin, basically. That's what he's doing. He's doing crimes to gain power within a criminal underworld that we don't really see.
Right.
And if you can accept that, then you can accept the movie.
I
But the movie's
mean,
it's because the movie's asking you to accept like giant turtles and never blinks when needing to explain any of them, that you just go, yeah, okay, whatever, Shredder, of course.
it does a little bit of the MCU kind of thing that I know has annoyed you in the past a little bit with some MCU films, where it takes the opportunity to make the joke. Like when April first wakes up in the sewer and she sees the turtles and she sees Splinter, she's just screaming because she's freaking out. Like, what the fuck is this? That's a little bit of that spirit where it's like, okay, we're going to go ahead and acknowledge that, like, yes, a human seeing this shit is going to fucking be like, what the fuck is happening? But then also later, when Casey Jones like sees all the turtles and all the shit, he's just like, whatever, okay. Like he
Yeah,
does a
yeah.
little shrug and stuff. And it's like, I the larger point around that is I think that because it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and that humor and like sarcasm or whatever is kind of baked in there, it works a little better.
There are also so many like very specific references that are funny to be Turtles reference points, but do make sense. Like when they first get to the farmhouse and welcome to Ninja Turtlesography, which is
Yeah.
like probably the
I
podcast we
mean,
should have always.
TMNtography.
Oh boy! But there's the scene where they first get to the farmhouse and they're fighting when he tells her that she got fired.
Don't worry, Pierce. We're only 17 minutes in.
Yeah, and it's actually been 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they go and they slam the doors and they go their separate ways. And the whole time, like Donnie and Mikey just kind of watch. And then Donnie just goes, "It's like moonlighting."
Yeah.
A joke that I didn't understand as a child. I didn't even really understand it as a teenager because I wasn't aware of what moonlighting was.
I was just old enough to know.
Hmm.
Like I had seen the commercials on TV and maybe been awake late enough once or twice to see an episode without understanding what the fuck it was. Because
Yeah.
I was like, that movie came out 1990. I would have been, I think, 6 when it came out. So like, yeah, I was like the perfect primed age for it. I will say 2 thoughts I have while watching that movie. One, Michelangelo's behavior in that film encouraged so many, I'm sure, annoying little kids to just be standing in front of their families, waving their arms and doing voices and shit. Like, James Cagney, I don't know these references, waka waka. But also, I was thinking about it and I was like, I've never seen the stats on like how many kids broke their noses with nunchucks from like 1985 to 1995. But if I had to guess, it was probably 400 a day.
Have you seen the clip
Like
of Bruce Lee playing ping pong with
yes,
nunchucks?
yes.
Holy shit.
Bruce Lee
It
was
feels unreal. He's playing against 2 people.
yeah.
It's insane.
Bruce Lee was a person who trained his body to levels that for most people would be just superhuman. He was so fast and so strong, and like this, my dad was obsessed with Bruce Lee. Like
I get it. Every time I find out more about Bruce Lee, when people who are older than us are like, "Yeah, fucking Bruce Lee." When I was a kid, I used to be like, "Okay, he's no Ninja Turtle."
My dad was like in his early 20s or like mid 20s in the early 70s and late 60s when the kung fu craze was taking off.
Mm.
And so he just was like, fuck yeah. Because my dad was also like into comics and wrestling and kind of turned me on to a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I was just thinking like, man, it's a wonder like I didn't like ever fucking actually break my sister's arm or something. Just like swinging nunchucks.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles is a crazy thing because 1, we're still getting new Ninja Turtles shit, and 2, at the time when it came out, it didn't just like reverberate through the comic book industry. Like its popularity had an effect on the world in a way that I don't really think that we see in the same way.
Yeah, well, you have to
Karate. What I'm saying
realize
is, growing up, there were a lot of karate dojos around. Okay, Tiger Schulman's probably owes everything to Ninja Turtle popularity through the 80s and 90s.
I definitely studied
The Blade. But
Yes, actually, when I did once study knife fighting as an adult.
hmm.
I took lessons. I
Is
took
that in case?
Kali lessons, which is like a Filipino martial art with like fighting sticks and shit. And let
Mm,
me tell you, much like Bruce Lee, the guy who taught me those lessons fucking beat the shit out of me. We do like the katas and stuff. I was in my 20s when this was going on, when I was physically fit and active. And like we do the katas and he'd be like, okay, now I'll show you how fast it's supposed to be. And he just full on beat me with the sticks. I was in the class with two women and he just took every opportunity to fucking wail on me. And like it was truly impressive. I'd walk away being like, he fucking nailed me.
well, and this is why you'll never be the leader of the Morlocks.
That's true. I could not take Callisto in a staff fight at this point. I
So
don't think. But I did take Kenpo and like Shaolin Kung Fu. I took
hmm,
like private Kung Fu lessons for like a year. When I was a little
nice.
kid, that mattered a lot to me. Now, literally like 40, almost like 38 years later or whatever, I'm just like, I remember one thing and
I
it's
think you should
not
get back
great.
into it.
Honestly, I've thought about it. I tried as an adult once and we went to this place that was like this kind of like dojo, my roommate and I. It was kind of like a dojo, and we got this vibe of like these people are way too into each other. It felt like a CrossFit kind of like. We were like,
Hey,
I don't
listen,
know.
CrossFit is okay if you find the right people.
Sure, I'm sure it is. It's also in the South. I'm sure it's more weird because there's
Hmm.
more like CrossFit church and stuff,
The funny thing about like even
like
V's,
CrossFit.
the funny thing about even like V's CrossFit gym is like there's occasionally like minor celebrities, like comedians and things like that, like
Yeah.
around New York that you're like, oh, huh, that's a guy, and then like you'll see him in a thing, and you'll be like, oh yeah,
Oh.
hey, and then you'll be like, oh, he's gonna be at the Memorial Day barbecue. Like,
Sure.
just watched him run a mile.
Great.
Cool.
I just
Tell you who that.
realized.
I can tell you who that is off mic. I'm not going to do it
Sure,
right
I
now.
don't care. I'm sure it was probably
It was Rob Schneider.
it
Sorry, I'll
was
say it on mic. It was Rob Schneider.
friend of the pod, Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
Fucking enemy of the pod, Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider, don't come anywhere near us. I will have a strong words, that's all. I just realized that the koozie I'm wearing matches my shirt,
Oh
which
hell
just
yeah!
says, remember when that guy shot RoboCop or remember when that RoboCop shot that guy in the dick? And my shirt, which came with that, is the guy getting shot in the dick by RoboCop. So
Bitches
based,
leave.
yeah, RoboCop, fucking great movie. Paul
Incredible
Verhoeven,
film.
one of our best anti-fascist directors. Starship Troopers, another one.
Listen, love an anti-fascist pervert.
Hell yeah. Uh, honestly, what I'd really love to see just once in my life before I die is, even still, however old they are, Paul Verhoeven versus Lars von Trier in a fist fight, maybe with Werner Herzog refereeing. So,
Hell yeah!
yep.
Well, speaking of fistfights,
We got some sick ones in these issues. This
yeah,
second issue, I don't know how you felt about it, but I'll go ahead and say it fucking lit me up.
pretty good. It did make me. We talked briefly before if we were going to cover 2 or 3 issues, and then I was like reading those, and I was like, maybe it's a good place to end, but also would be good to read the end. But it's okay. We're going to cover just 2 issues because that'll give us something exciting to cover at the beginning of the next one.
Yeah.
And also because we're better at 2, and also because it's already late. So
Yeah. Sorry, guys. You're on our schedule
in
tonight.
case everybody's like wondering what the fuck we're doing, it's
Yeah.
just 2 issues.
Yeah. Kind of our standard setup. And I don't mind leaving. This is a 5-part story. We haven't had many of those in Spawn, to be honest.
This is a 7-part story.
Excuse my stupid ass. This is a 7-part story, and we certainly haven't had many of those in the run of Spawn.
True.
So,
and also this is one that is very intentional about it being 7 parts, right? We're actually getting like kind of parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where
yes.
like Todd's approach would be like, I'm just going to name everything a different name.
Right.
And like, yes, they'll be loosely connected, but they'll be straight up connected for like 8 issues. And you'd be like, okay, and
Yeah.
every single one would have a different name. So yeah, it's a bit of a different approach. Feels like Holguin's back on the horse and McFarlane are back on the horse in terms of like what they're doing post 100, and it's a big thing that we didn't see as much of. Well, actually, it's very similar to the first 100 issues. We have to establish new villains, so we are doing it. And I think that, and we'll get into it, but I think that the thing that's really working for this arc is that minor characters are getting stuff to do. The world of Spawn feels like a little bit more lived in, and that things have an interesting effect on each other. Our
Having
check-ins with characters don't feel obligatory; they
well,
feel expansive.
having Sam and Twitch and like Twitch's son directly connected to the plot right now is a great side story to like Spawn's main adventure with the vampires.
Yeah.
We're jumping back in with us. As you'll remember, we're dealing with these Christian vampires called the Kingdom. And I don't have any feelings about the idea of Christian vampires. Especially not ones named Wolfram. But yeah, so it's a pretty interesting story. And as we're about to get into it, and I'm sure there will be a recap involved in this, Pierce, hit me with those credits.
All right. Spawn number 111. Todd McFarlane Image Comics present The Kingdom, Part 5. Dedicated to Douglas Knight, who I couldn't find anything on except there is a current comics person who does Cross-Eye Comics
Okay.
named Douglas Knight. Don't know if it's the same person. Have no idea. Didn't
Okay.
look that hard.
How about that?
Plot by Brian Holguin and Todd McFarlane. Story by Brian Holguin. Pencils by Angel Medina. Inks by Danny Miki, Victor Olazaba, Alan Martinez, and Crime Lab Studios. Lettering by Tom Warzakowski. Colors by Brian Haberlin, Dan Kemp, Haberlin Studios. Cover, as always, by the great, the legend, Greg Capullo.
Greg Capullo.
I will do a quick recap. Listeners, we do recaps for each other a little bit when we haven't recorded on our regular cadence, so that's why we're going to do it. Spawn 110 summary. As Sam and Twitch wait... Bleh. Spawn 110 summary. As Sam and Twitch wait at the appointed hour, Spawn arrives with Ab and Zab in tow. They are carrying the head of Wolfram in a bag.
Oh,
The
no.
two detectives are more than a little startled when Wolfram, after some encouragement from Ab, begins to speak and tells them that he knows about Simon Pure and the Kingdom. While Max Jr. realizes he may be past the point of no return with Dawn and her friends, Spawn finds a warehouse that he suspects is Simon Pure's headquarters. The structure itself is indestructible, and though the young inhabitants are no match for Spawn, he comes face to face with a truly formidable enemy, Simon Pure himself.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
All right.
One thing I noticed about Simon Pure in these two issues, he also kind of looks like Cypher from FF8. He looks like that different blonde guy with sunglasses.
I never played a lot of Final Fantasy VIII. I played a shitload of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, me too.
I was just talking about that with my coworker the other day. I was sitting in. I remember we were talking about what the saddest moment in a video game was, and I was like, the one that immediately comes to mind
Aerith dying
is Aerith sinking below the water.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It was probably 2 a.m. playing that game on this huge old ass TV, like one of those wooden box TVs with a huge CRT monitor in my attic. Anyway, those are the good old days before I had to pay taxes.
Well, you don't have to pay taxes now. If you
thanks,
are not
Doge.
a coward. We open with some.
Resist. #resist.
Speaking of vampires that don't pay taxes.
Yeah. Christians. What did I say?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We open with a pretty cool page. I gotta say, Angel. I'm gonna say right off the top, Angel Medina. Woo boy. These are some great looking issues.
Oh my goodness. When we get to 112, there's some shit that I was just like, fuck.
I think that it may be I'm so curious to see the pencils.
There's some shit that I was just like, fuck. That is what a critic sounds like.
Yeah, we're professionals.
Yeah.
We get this great kind of face-off page right in the middle where there's Spawn on one side with Simon Pure in his eye, like reflected in his eye, and then Simon Pure on the other with Spawn reflected in his eye. I love
Great
the
showdown kind of
yeah.
image.
And I love the narration here. The night of cleansing is nearly here. The final stand between the reborn, those reborn to the light, and those who are lost to the darkness. When the streets of this filth ridden city will be awash with the blood of the wicked, and in the blood stained dawn that will follow, paradise shall begin again. It will be a great and glorious sight.
Now, my copy in the omnibus here has an extra panel at the bottom, or word balloon there at the bottom, that
Mine does
says,
too, but it doesn't feel like it's part of that narration.
no, it's not, because it's actually repeated in a couple pages.
Really?
Yes.
Did I just not notice that? Oh, you know what it is? Yeah, it's a weird error,
Yeah.
I guess.
Just like an extra balloon on that page.
It's in mine too. Anyway.
Yep. So yeah, they're squaring off, and Simon Pure's saying it will be a glorious sight. And then he says, "Too bad you or pity you will not live to see it." As I love the narration here. This sounds like someone's Vampire the Masquerade like storyteller. They step out from 100 shadowed corners, staring through with the gloom with cold dark eyes. The only issue I have with this double page spread, which looks fucking great, I love the silhouettes in the foreground. But the only issue I have is that because of that, there are no like 100 shadowed corners.
Yeah.
That they're coming.
Most of the vampires are in yellow. Yeah. We have a little bit of that return to our least favorite color in this comic.
I don't mind this because the eerie green is kind of playing throughout it. But yeah, like if the sky was dark, I also get why there's not a lot of heavy blacks in the background because there are in the foreground. Just a quirk of how the narration lines up with the art. Not that big a deal, especially when you look at how cool the page looks. And you got Simon Pure holding out his sword. Spawn looking fucking great battle pose. Really love the way Angel Medina is pushing his anatomy a lot in these issues.
Anatomy and the cape as well. He's just doing he's just making shapes with the cape, and he was like, it doesn't really matter. It looks cool no matter what.
He is absolutely cool. Well, that's kind of the rule of Spawn's cape, is the rule of cool. Does it look cool? It doesn't have to make sense. It's a fucking weird hell symbiote. So Spawn gets down and starts touching the ground, and this green energy starts coming up into his hand. And here is where that caption is repeated. The caption says, beneath his hand, Spawn can feel the ancient hum of the world miles below the pillars of the earth shift and groan. And as he's kneeling down and making contact with the green, Simon Pure is taunting him, saying, you kneel like a lowly slave. I trust you're not expecting mercy. And no, he's fucking not, because he does something badass. They're kind of on a wharf, like there's like a dock there.
Yeah.
And he brings in this massive tidal wave that like snarches up all the vampires in the fucking like
it's pretty cool
of seawater. I really like how the seawater is all eerie and green in these pages.
It puts a really cool flatness to the colors for a couple pages there that like we don't
that really
often
works
see.
In this way.
Yeah, it's really cool.
There are so many, to me, manga influenced panels and like coloring choices here, even more than usual. Like that's the thing that was coming into art more and more, Western art more and more in this period, because more artists who grew up with it were, getting jobs. But like, okay, this whole sequence, partially because of those colors, but like the way that it's drawn, the line weights, the expressions, it just really looks like it's a beautiful fucking sequence. I love what Spawn does here. Once they're all in the water, his cape expands and his chains start hanging down and grabbing the fucking vampires like a huge hellish jellyfish. And like that panel of it at the bottom is so cool. All the faces kind of pulling up through his mask as they're being smothered. And then Spawn's face just like pouring all this energy out of his eyes. Man, I could just gush about this art. And the colors really work here. Leaning into that green is such a good choice because it reflects both Spawn's power and the presence of the green. What do they call it here? The green world.
Mm-hmm.
not just the green. That's DC.
The it's so sick because we also, I mean, one, it's not, this is not the end of the arc. If this was like the end of the arc, I'd be like, yeah, of course he does like a crazy thing.
But this is just the first. This is like
This is like the
the
first couple
first fight.
pages in the middle of the arc still. Like
Yeah, maybe not the
we're
first fight,
toward
but like
we're towards the end, but like it's
this
not
is
the
like
end.
a climactic midpoint. This is great.
Yeah.
And I'll
And
tell you, it does escalate in a way that I love.
yeah, I
He
love the narration again here. As so the chains are billowing out, and the energy surges through the chains, through the veins of Spawn's cloak. Simon Pure watches in horror as his brothers in blood pop and burst like June bugs on a hot stove.
That's so. It's like Rogue in
Whew.
the X-Men animated series. I feel like a June bug on a hot stove, sugar.
Absolutely. And then there's just like disembodied pieces of vampire all over.
Well, also
Great.
that last panel there, the hand hanging there is Simon
Yeah.
Pure's hand because he cuts it off to get out of the chains. Because yeah, Spawn wraps them all up in his chains and basically just electrocutes them all
Explodes
until
them
they
all.
fucking explode. So awesome. You know what? I love that we're getting more of these actual like moments of Spawn just doing fucking awesome, powerful shit. Spawn's fucking awesome. I love the page of him like crawling out of the water as it's kind of settling down,
Yeah.
and just like
It's a nice moment of like it's a very quiet page after so much craziness, and I really
it
appreciate
kind of
the
sells the idea of the water coming to it still. But
yeah.
also, Spawn's one big boot has never been bigger or booter. Like that leggy there is like baby deer length, and he
Do you
is
think
like,
because of the boot, like his one leg is more muscular than the other one now? Because like he's got to
yeah.
like
I
carry
guess
it.
if I was him, I'd probably switch which leg it was on every day
Yeah.
if I could only
Just to
afford one big boot. Yeah,
balance out his
exactly.
calves and his thighs.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 That's important.
Yeah. Did you see? Okay, I'm gonna shout out a person I don't know, just vaguely. Did you see that thing I sent you from the post of the custom spawn? I sent it to you in your texts, but it was like a custom like Mafex style like
Oh yeah, yeah,
highly
yeah.
super sick. There was a custom that I saw on Reddit. Anyway, just reminded me of that the big boot because he had the one big boot, which I love.
Yeah.
I love one big boot. From there, we cut to a sequence that at first doesn't exactly make
Makes
sense
sense.
until you get through it. It's these big, what is this, a 12 panel grid where it's just Max Williams, Twitch's son, emerging from the darkness and kind of talking to his father. And he's saying, I'm sorry I put you through this. You know, I never dreamed it would end up this way. I never meant to hurt you. And you get Twitch's disembodied voice kind of calling out to him, asking him where he is. And Max is kind of saying goodbye to him because, as we know, Max has been turned into a vampire
Yep.
by, God, what is her fucking
Dawn.
name? Dawn. Thank you. I wanted to say Grace, and I was like, it's not Grace. Dawn. Thank you. So yeah, she comes out of nowhere. Max fades away. He's like, goodbye. I'm so sorry. She comes out of nowhere and says, I'm sorry, Max can't come out to play. He's not yours anymore. He belongs to the kingdom. She says,
Some of the most Capullo y character work that we've seen from Medina to this point.
honestly, these grids are great.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of repetition could be tough on an artist, but he really makes it work in the cartooning. I think by having this just plain dark background, which really works for what this is, I mean, it makes perfect sense. He really leans into it. And the inking team also just really leans into the heavy blacks on this page, like the spotted blacks. And it all just sells so well. The colors are these muted blue tones. It sells great as like they're invading his dreams, Nosferatu style.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And she says, you know, we're the ones who are there for him. In the end, you know, he'll be thankful that he's with us. And she says, here, you might want to keep these, and throws Max's glasses at him and says, your poor eyesight, all the weaknesses your genes passed on to him, he's grown beyond them now. And sure enough, when Twitch wakes up screaming on the next page, he says, "Oh no, Max, come back, boy." Reaches for his own glasses, puts them on, puts his hand down on the bed, and there, in fact, are Max's broken glasses. The cartooning on Twitch as he's springing out of bed, it's very like, I want to call out specifically like very Masamune Shiro,
Mm,
like Dominion Tank Police in particular, or like some Ghost in the Shell stuff. God, man, I'm
yeah.
gonna have to watch some of that soon.
There's
Um,
a, I really like this sequence because it is one thing about the way Max looks. I think that Max looks a little younger than we've seen him previously, and if it's Twitch's dream, that does kind of make sense.
Especially without his glasses, it makes him look a
Right.
little younger
And
too.
I was thinking like, oh, that maybe that's what Twitch thinks of his son, or like thinks of when the last time he really connected with his son. And I think that that's a nice little touch. I don't know how intentional that is necessarily,
I think
but
it's at least very intentional that Max is showing a lot of childlike vulnerability there.
yeah.
Whether that's meant to be like some of Twitch's interpretation, I think some of it is Max having that reaction to talking to his own father,
Hmm.
knowing he's probably saying goodbye to him, is
Yeah.
that he turns into his child again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, I
I think
think,
it's
of
I think it's a great little touch.
it is. It's beautiful cartooning. And that's what's great about those two pages is that across all the panels, even though it's just one page is all Max's talking heads and the other page is all Don's talking heads, you still get Medina finds ways to put so much personality for the character in each panel that you see the emotion escalating. It really has the desired storytelling effect. I think it works great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after Twitch wakes up, we cut to Simon Pure, who's doing his best Steven Seagal impression.
He is a triple threat. He is a Christian, vampire, samurai. He is like the ultimate 90s fucking like early 2000s protagonist. Um he is praying with his sword just like so many people in Montana who think that New York actually is overrun with the Foot Clan right now. Fucking this whole sequence looks kind of badass though, like in the 90s like villain with a sword and a ponytail kind of way. I love the way it's framed. It is a very like kung fu movie kind of scene with
Totally.
like him holding the sword and like the dragon in the background. I love these now got the like steel ball over his severed hand, and he's basically praying. He's saying, "Grant me strength to serve you and do your will on earth as it is in heaven. Forgive my weakness. I failed. I swear I won't fail you again." Now, we cut back to the actual Don and Max is basically just sitting there crying. This is how I looked the one time I got booked into jail as like a 19-year-old or 18-year-old even. This is exactly how I looked, like a fucking blubbering baby. I gave someone my shoes, my jail shoes. It was fine.
Listen, you shouldn't have stolen that candy bar.
Not far off. Anyway, long story short, I'm innocent of all charges. Um, and just for good measure, what's interesting about this entire podcast is none of the opinions, or frankly, even anecdotes that I express or tell, have anything to do with the opinions or nature or relationship I have with my job. It's not
Hmm.
reflected in any of that. Isn't that interesting? Their
I was
opinions
wondering.
are not reflected in this podcast. So Dawn is like, "Hey, don't be such a fucking little crybaby. Drink some of my blood." Which, the thing is, they made the comparison already in the one of the previous issues of like they believe Jesus was a vampire.
Right.
And like you can kind of see how you get there from the whole like drink of my blood, eat of my flesh thing. And if you really look at it, that's why Catholics are so fucking weird.
The thing about Catholicism, though, is I appreciate how weird it is because it goes pretty hard sometimes with
That's
its
the only cool thing
aesthetics.
about it. That's the only cool thing about it is that they have cool costumes and shit.
Yeah.
Like it is certainly fascism, The weird thing is that maybe not even weird, but the fucking like circular thing of our reality is that like the fascists are really embracing like the traditional quote unquote traditional Catholicism now
Yeah.
as their new weird, but they're not actually Catholic. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're gonna cut back to your favorite character in all Spawn comics,
oh, that's right.
the head of Wolfram.
I actually think he's awesome here, and I'll tell you why. Because
Got a
first off,
sideways hat.
he's got a sideways cap, which always looks cool in the '90s. He looks like he's hanging
Hey,
out with fucking
it's the year
Ad Rock
2001.
and Mike D. It's the '90s. 2001 was still technically the '90s up until the end of the year when that My Chemical Romance formed, and they ushered in the true birth of the 2000s.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, the '90s didn't start until 1993.
That's fair.
You know, it's kind of like 1980 was still the 70s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We all know.
I hear you.
1965 was 1972.
Okay.
1966 was back to 1967. 67 was 85. Shit was going crazy in the fucking middle of the 20th century.
Oh boy.
But he's wearing he looks like he's wearing a baseball cap like Adam X the Extreme would do it, which is awesome. And he's also sitting there in a pile of beans, just trying to eat a can of beans as a disembodied head. I'll tell you what, man, the disembodied head of Wolfram, I'd give him a kick.
And he's hanging out. Well, he's hanging out with Ab and Zab.
He sure is.
And Spawn's here.
He's eating generic beans, is what they're called.
Yeah, well, and
as you get, just beans.
And Zab's eating Captain Munch.
That's what they get in the army, just beans.
So
just beans.
Human bean juice.
Yeah.
So Spawn shows up and is like, and Wolfram's like, it didn't work, did it? And Spawn's like, no. And basically, Wolfram explains with these vampires, like you can't kill them with normal vampire means. You have to kill them by disintegrating them and reducing them to atoms. And because if you leave anything behind, they can regenerate or whatever.
Now, that will be directly contradicted very soon.
Yeah, well.
I take this to mean like you have to wipe out the whole clan. That's right. My no prizing of how Wolfram means this. You have to get rid of every trace of them, kill all of them. You can't leave a single vampire standing. Maybe he means it like this, but later we'll see that, spoiler alert, the fucking ones that Spawn electrified until they blew up, maybe it was enough, you know what I mean, to have killed those ones, but they'll be referred to as like fallen vampires. You know, maybe it was like fucking what's his name, Rush, Thurston Rush or whatever his fucking name is, with the Ocean Gate, and the submarine that imploded.
The guy that died in the submarine.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying, okay, so you know how they died.
They got crushed to death, basically.
No.
Or exploded to get. That's what it is. They got exploded.
They got atomized. No.
Yeah.
Basically, what happens is in an explosive decompression like that, when you're that deep under the ocean with that much pressure, the friction of the air igniting, or the friction of the collapse causes the oxygen inside the tube to ignite in a flash that is the fucking heat of the sun. Like literally it's like thousands of degrees. I guess the sun is millions of degrees, but it's like it flash atomizes people. So like that's fucking wild and gnarly. And so I will never go in a submarine.
I wasn't going to go in a submarine anyway, but now I especially won't.
Submarines and caves. Don't go deep in caves. You shouldn't. It's just not, we weren't meant to.
So I do think that like what Wolfram's saying also is that like they can't have a leader still. Like you have to really kill. Right. I think he's mostly referring to Simon Pure. Like, oh, you didn't kill him all the way, so this is still going to keep going.
That's fair because he didn't his plan to kill Simon Pure didn't work.
Yeah.
So
and I do take this new group, this like group in front of Simon Pure as like newer vampires, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just kind of
Well, no,
feels
I
like
mean, to go back to
it
what we were talking about with the Foot Clan, that's kind of what they are.
yeah.
And they even have that moment where we'll get to it. I'll make the comparison then too. But there's a very much a like Fagin kind of vibe to
Mm,
Simon Pure, where he is kind of luring in people like Max.
yeah.
Like that's exactly what he's doing is he's bringing in the young goths that think they can handle it. And it's a running theme in literature. It's not like the Shredder was the first one to do that, but just bringing it back to one of our earlier touchstones, it's the
Yeah.
same thing where he's recruiting young and like you can draw a lot of parallels to that. You can draw
Sure.
a lot of parallels to the idea of recruiting young people to an ideology while their brains are still forming, and then using that to later weaponize them.
Yeah, and we get one more kind of like ritual from Simon Pure here, where he's got a sword, and he says, "We are the children of the kingdom, the swift, unyielding
Oh,
sword of God."
we should note that Spawn does tell Ab and Zab that even though he didn't kill Simon Pure, he does have a plan. And they
Yeah,
say, we're not going to like it. And he says, no. So this is exactly the page I was talking about, where first he's saying, our brothers and sisters have been returned to the dust from whence they were born, the ultimate martyrdom. So I guess you could assume that they were totally like vaporized by Spawn shooting
yeah,
them full of electricity.
and
And
then
he
he
says
just got new
here,
people.
yep, he says, who's equal to the challenge? Who will take the place of the fallen? And all these young vampires put their hands up to be chosen. And so the next page is pretty sick.
Yeah, we get into
Uh,
this ritual with the sword, uh, calling back to sort of his sword moment earlier
mm-hmm.
that he had, and he says, "We are the children of the
Sword
kingdom."
moments with
Yeah,
Pearson George.
the swift, unyielding sword of God. We're the army of justice, and justice must be blind. And he says, "Brother Matthias, are you ready to see the light?" And he holds the
The
uh,
flaming hot
flaming
sword.
hot sword right at his eyes.
And you
Uh,
get the impression of what he's done, you know,
yeah.
jabbed out his eyes with a flaming
Speaking of
hot sword.
Spawn's plan,
Speaking of Spawn's plan, I like this whole scene with Ab and Zab here. We get some actually interesting insight into them as characters. We've been pro Ab and Zab this whole time,
for sure.
um, but at the same time, I like that we get more depth to them than just them being like yucks.
Hmm.
Um,
They've kind of
Spawn
cooled
is
it with the pop culture references as well.
yeah, well, they're kind of taking shit seriously because of Spawn, and also because if the kingdom does what they want to do, it's gonna fuck up shit for them. They're not gonna
Yeah.
get to have the fun they used to have anymore. And also the order that they are part of will be upset, etc., etc. So Spawn is like, Zab is like, you sure you want to? This is what you want to do? I'm not complaining. It's just I want to make sure you know something. Sorry, Ab is saying that. And Zab is saying he's made up his mind already. Let's do this thing. And Ab says, listen, Spawn, you know what we are, demons, but we're a special kind of demon. We're openers. There's almost nothing in the universe that can keep us out. There's no doors that are closed to us. And then I like this. He says, but the thing is, behind every single door on every single world, you'll find the exact same thing. You know what that is? Consequences. That's what you'll find. And with that, he's like, all right, I've said my piece, and does whatever it is he's going to do. They create some kind of vortex where Spawn is apparently drawing in energy.
Yeah, pretty cool. I like the cartooning in the next page as well. We see that they have kind of been. Did they get blasted by the? That's the only
The
thing that's.
energy, it's like the light that is like Spawn. It's
Yeah,
like a huge wave of light, and they're kind of shielding their face from it. You can
yeah.
tell that they're like looking away and then like looking down. And we'll find out kind of probably part of why
They've
in a
kind of
little bit.
powered up, right?
Because that's
Because their
Spawn
tattoo.
powering up because of their door.
No, but their tattoos are back.
Oh yeah, well, because they did a demonic thing. They're not hiding
Yeah,
their demonic nature. So I think they come and go and they use like their powers. I think you're right.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. That's my feeling. That's my sense. Um so now Simon Pure is taking his new recruits up onto this building and he's looking down at all these people, and while their eyes are out, and you can tell that Simon Pure, his own eyes are gone because of his visor that he wears and everything. While their eyes are gone, they can still see, but everything is in this gray pallor, except for people with this red S on their foreheads that Simon Pure says are marked as sinners. Now, it's unclear exactly what this mark is, if he's actually seeing some holy mark. There is an argument to be made that there is some level of metaphysical sin attached to these people
Yeah.
because of what Spawn does. So he's, kind of ranting about cleaning up all these people. I love the cross hatching on his face there. It just looks so cool. I don't always love that level of like cross hatching detail and inking. But that double panel close up on his face, I just really think it's a cool mood.
There's also the hatching on the reflective the reflective nature of the visor as well.
Looks
That
awesome.
kind of shouldn't work, but it looks
It's very
great.
Art Adams.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. We get one final page as they're about to unworthy sinners must be erased from God's sight, and tomorrow night they shall be. And we get the entire cast of extras from The Matrix.
Hell yeah.
But basically, all of the Christian vampires have been decked out in black leather, and they are just lining all of the. It's so cool because if you look,
this page looks
all
awesome.
the way back, you can see that they're lined up for on so many different buildings.
like blocks. It's
so cool.
awesome. It makes me want to be a teen vampire. And let me tell you, I did want to be a teen vampire. Not in like the way of those Kentucky boy murderers or whatever. The murder boys, not the one who they didn't murder boys. They were boys who murdered. There was a it's actually, I guess it's there, if for to timestamp this for potential some of our listeners, they're actually talking about it on last podcast on the left right now. But I read the book they're referencing called The Embrace way back when it was released in the early 2000s, and it is about the Kentucky Vampire Clan murders, which was essentially a Vampire the Masquerade game that got so out of hand that this guy killed his girlfriend's parents.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well,
the one sometimes. Satanic panic story ever.
Yeah, like the Tom Hanks movie.
Also, yes. Remember when you discovered what that is?
Yep, and I watched it.
You did. How'd you like it?
I thought it was actually okay.
It's
I know
pretty
that
interesting.
It's a weird artifact, but I think it's kind of okay.
It's kind of fun. It's got some stuff. I love the ending where he's like writing in his journal. He's like, I stay in this tavern with these two friendly innkeeps, and I have a magic coin. Every day I give it to them, and every night it reappears again under my pillow. And I'm just like, I bet he's living a great fucking life at this point. Mazes and Monsters. Anyway, back to spawns and spawnographies. Man, a Spawn RPG like tabletop game would be kind of sick.
Would be pretty cool.
Anyway, I'm kind of just a fan of anything getting in a tabletop RPG if it's good.
We are up to spawn number 112.
That's right. And Pierce, you know what that means is that it's another round of hitting me with credits.
What's great is it's all the exact same credits, with the exception of the title, which is The Kingdom Part 6, and the dedication, which is dedicated to all the victims of the September 11th tragedy, their families and loved ones. And we have nothing to say about
My
that.
Chemical Romance getting strays out here. What did Gerard Way do to all those people? No, I'm sorry, Gerard.
We'll never know.
We used to be buds. That's true.
This first splash fucking rules. All the vampires are descending onto to kill their prey.
Oh, it's so good. I
the
love
night of cleansing begins.
This one vampire over on the right, like leaping down, like legs akimbo. The poses here are so fucking cool. This whole issue in particular, the action scenes feel very manga influenced to me. And it's not just the use of speed lines, but it's also the layouts, some of the things that happen. We'll get into it. This page fucking rules. I love it. This is like perfect art of this era.
And then it's followed up by another double page spread that fucking rules.
It just is awesome. It's dozens of vampires descending on the people.
And we're just seeing boots, and we're seeing people afraid, and it's chaos.
It's
It's
really
awesome.
cool. It's a great double page spread. Right up in the top corner, you see that close up just on the vampire's fangs. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. It rules so much. And then you got some fun stuff. We got a Crime Lab Studios sticker on the light post. Easy wash detailing by says Mitch Tagami. I don't know who that is, but
Could be one of the crime lab people, because you also, if you go up the light pole, there's a Victor Olazaba uh,
oh yeah, so there is.
signature as well. Which
Yep.
I would be proud of this too, and try to and put my signature
Dude,
on it,
this
because this shit
page
rules.
works on every level. This is just the
Yep.
kind of page I love to turn a comic page and see this. It's so cool. It doesn't sacrifice anything.
Again, though,
Oh
the
man,
depth to it also, when you look back towards the horizon point, you're just like, yeah, there's so many vampires coming out of the sky. This
it's
is fucking
dozens, if not
sick.
hundreds. It rules. And like they're diving into like basically like Times Square, like a really well lit chunk of Manhattan. And so the colors that are a little more bright and almost literal work so well on this page, not just because it gives all the detail room to kind of exist, but because it just looks awesome. Like
Yeah.
it just, oh man, I love it.
So Simon grabs a bystander, and the narration says, "We have come to do God's work. We have long waited for this night. We gave humanity every chance to awaken to the light. They have shown themselves to be unworthy." And he pulls his sword out, and he's about to like chop this guy's head off or whatever he's going to do. But then he notices that he doesn't have the mark. And he's like, wait a second. None of these people have the mark. They all had the mark a second ago.
Yeah,
There
he's
has to be
like, oh, this
something
guy must
wrong.
be a rare exception. But then, yeah, he starts grabbing people and he kind of quickly goes, oh, fucking Spawn, and
Yeah.
realizes that Spawn must have done something. And certainly he did. This is pretty interesting. First, we get a little interlude with Sam and Twitch here. It says 14 hours earlier, they're trying to convince the police captain or police chief to evacuate and sweep Central Park. We know will soon know that this is part of Spawn's plan, and they're just kind of carrying it out. And it seems like it's going to work. It seems like it does work because what happens is we get this very inconspicuous Spawn pose where he's full on doing the Jesus Christ T pose. If the boot was big before, it's as big as it's ever been now. It's
He's just
covering his other
balancing on
foot.
one. Yeah, he's just balancing on one big
I
boot
think the
now.
other foot is on. Yeah, I think it's on the other side, like kind of blocked by that.
Yeah.
You
But
can
I
kind
mean,
of, but
it's
I
clearly
love it.
supposed to be a cross. That's the whole
Yes,
point. Uh,
yes,
and also, what I love here is this is another point where I really love the narration. It says, sunset, Spawn feels the breath and sigh of the city move in intricate waves around him. He can feel their pain, their failure, their weakness. He drinks in their guilt and their avarice and their hate. It calls to him even as he calls to it. It surprises him how easy it is. It flows to him so naturally, like rivers returning to the sea. He doesn't like this feeling, but it is a burden he must bear. We are really seeing Spawn come into his own here, where, yeah, we got the powers where he was like early, like, 12, 14 issues ago, where he's like keyed into the darkness, keyed into
yeah, and he's
sin,
got like
keyed
the green
into,
world upgrade, and he's like, yeah,
and we got some vague sort of motioning towards like there's something more here, but we're not quite sure what it is. It does feel like with Ab and Zab being these like openers, right? That he has become a door to
yes.
these abilities now, to his full potential almost, right?
I think he's
And
all. I think it's partially that, and I think it's partially that he's become a doorway that people that he's become a like entryway himself.
yeah,
And so, okay, before we get too much deeper into that, we get a quick interlude with Twitch going home and saying he just wants to be with his family right now. His wife and his kids welcome in. His kids are so excited to see him. And we cut back to Central Park where the cops are in fact cordoning everything off.
which
Spawn.
which listeners, if you've never been to Central Park runs basically like 60 blocks north
Yeah,
and a few avenues across. Like, to block it off it's like 6.5 miles around.
yeah.
So to block it off would take a huge effort by the police. That is why the police chief doesn't want to do it is because he's like, I kind of need like everybody to go do this.
At the same time, we know now that the formation of My Chemical Romance had a devastating effect
True.
on law enforcement and the people of the city of New York. And so they kind of say to him here, when they're talking to him earlier, they're kind of like, are you sure you want to take the risk that this
But you
isn't
didn't do
true, that
enough.
you didn't do enough?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a sensitivity to that we can read into it. He hadn't explored some of their later catalog and how it actually revisited the you brought me your bullets, I brought you my love kind of era. They brought back some of that riffing on the Black Parade. Anyway, we don't need to get into how that affected our nation. It's been a long ride and we've all been a part of it. So we get Spawn, and he is now standing in Central Park alone. And on his forehead, he bears in bright glowing green that mark of sin.
No, and you know, it's to really follow up on that T pose that he was in, that cross pose he was in earlier. It is the manifestation of all that sin that he took in.
Yes.
That he will maybe die for the sins of New York City.
Maybe so, and be reborn. Or to me, what I felt, and I haven't read ahead, so I don't know what will come of this. I assume, whatever. But to me, what it read like when it said it flows into him as naturally as rivers to the sea, he is a hellish being. He is from the realm of sin. He is empowered by the realm of sin. And like you said, he's been tapped into that level of sin. So I think you're right that what he did, whatever the quote unquote doorway was specifically, and I'm sure we'll see some of that later on, he is using that power of Ab and Zab to unlock that transitional kind of like liminal space
Yeah.
to become someone who can take that sin into him as a devil or a demon would.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
think that's
that
interesting.
I think that what it, you know, when they explain that they're openers, it really, I think he realizes like, wow, I'm not going to open this door within myself without some help,
Yeah.
because as he explains, like, he doesn't like this feeling. He doesn't want this, and he's kind of never wanted it as much as he's embraced it more now that he's set aside the Al Simmons part of himself.
You can see that he's
His
more and more on a path to like not necessarily even understanding, but inherently enabling that destiny as like a beacon of sin.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think though that we're about to, it feels narratively like this is a Spawn who now is like, well, now what is my purpose exactly? And he has taken on sort of being the hero, that hero role, that heroic role.
Yeah.
However, it's going to come to him. And in this case, he's like, Simon Pure, bad guy, got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I've said it about other arcs, especially recently. I think I said it about the final arc of the Summer of Hellspawn. Yeah.
yeah.
um, uh, but this whole arc to me feels like it could be like it's very cinematic in its
Mm-hmm.
pacing and its structure. If they were to do like a Spawn 6-episode series, this would be such a good template.
Yeah.
And we're about to get one of my favorite Spawn scenes ever, both artistically, narratively. I just love what's about to happen. We turn the page from where Spawn is walking into Central Park, kind of kneeling in the middle of the grounds, and we cut to him here, kind of kneeling in this trance.
With his third eye.
His third
Open.
eye, the eye of sin, opened. And as he's sitting there with his cape spilled out almost like blood, it almost looked like he's dead. The vampires, just dozens, hundreds of vampires, are leaping into the park at him. This looks like the coolest fucking scene from like Ninja Scroll or something.
Yeah.
Like you just know that Spawn's about to fuck shit up. And lo and behold, he absolutely does. Let me say, okay, first we have a quick interlude back at the Citadel of the Kingdom, which is this huge heavenly tower.
Yeah. That's the indestructible headquarters
that Spawn
was
tried to
mentioned again
destroy.
before.
Yes. And Dawn is saying it's the midnight dawn. It's all happening. It's all coming true. Trying to get Max to follow her down to the meeting room where, quote unquote, their bravest are gathering. Now, something else is about to happen. that is another aspect of Ab and Zab's doorway powers that we will discuss. And now, I actually, rethinking it right now as we're talking about this, I'm not clear if they're doing two doorway tricks here, or if they just are like, Spawn, you sure you know what you want us to do? And it relates to what they're about to do. Could be both. Either way, whether it's due to Ab and Zab or as a part of the plan Spawn shares with him, he is certainly powering up in a new way, and in the
I
way that
think
he interacts with that
so,
energy.
so I think that there's, because it's not super clear what he does with Ab and Zab before their tattoos come back. It's unclear if he's just powering them up to enable them and their
That's very
inherent,
true. That's a good point.
or if they, with their minor, because they are minor demons.
Yes.
They've let us know that a few times. So here's my no prize. I think that they did help him unlock some potential within himself, because that they could just
They're
do.
also demons, and
Right.
yeah.
And they have an inherent connection to hell that would help him do that. Then that, with that potential unlocked, he was able to power them up to do the next thing that they're going to do.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it's
that's
recursive,
probably
sure.
more complicated than
We may be adding details to it here. I think the important takeaway overall is Ab and Zab are about to do something. And also, Spawn has leveled up in his interaction with this like essence of sin and stuff that has come to him. So, because I also, in reading it initially, I got the impression that Ab and Zab were doing something with or to Spawn there, as well as here. This also fits what's about to happen with them. We'll get to it in a second. Getting way ahead of ourselves, because I love this fucking fight scene with Spawn. First off, I love the narration.
Hold on a second. Ab and Zab show up. They break Dawn's neck.
Oh yeah, they sure do.
And they're like, and Max is like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And they're like, "How you doing, kid? We're the cavalry." And that's just kind of fun. Not that they killed Dawn necessarily, but she was
we know
pretty
that
evil,
she won't die.
So that's true. Well, true. Yeah.
Technically, she'll probably heal from that, according to what Wolfram said. If you can believe anything that fucking guy says. So yes, we cut back to Central Park, where Spawn is having one of the coolest fights he's ever had. Now look, I don't know quite. I think I do know what it is in myself that has come to appreciate this kind of like comic book or like action movie trope. Excuse me. I love a scene of a hero just fucking shredding through like dozens of dudes. Like that scene in Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine, where they're fighting the entire Deadpool Corps. That's like the Wolverine thing I wanted to see for so long, is him just fighting 150 fucking like hand ninjas or something.
Exactly.
And I love that scene here too, because that's what's happening with Spawn. Now, we've gotten stuff like this before, but a lot of the time when Spawn has done like a huge fight with a bunch of people, it'll be like, bring it then. And then we'll cut to somewhere else and we'll cut back and there's a huge pile of bodies or something.
Yeah.
It's a cool effect, but...
Or he ends up in some like... Or he ends up like almost losing in a way that you're like... I mean...
We're definitely leveling up the action in this series too.
Yeah.
Like Spawn has always been an action-packed series. We're leveling up the way that the action's being portrayed. In this story in particular, the action beats are so good. And again, here, it's this double-page spread of like these long, jagged panels. I love the narration. Beneath a cold stare of a full moon, chaos is loosed. From their windows, New Yorkers can see flashes of eerie light and hear distant feral howls. They have no idea what battle rages or how much is at stake. We get into, again, the army of 777 vampires. I keep thinking of the Pixies every time I read that. If man is 5 and the devil is 6 and God is 7.
We see some like just crazy shit from Spawn here too. I mean, the chains we always see, but he also extends his fingers into swords and stabs vampires.
It's like a T-1000 thing. It's like the T-1000. Like he turns, his fingers are like shooting out his blades. He's fucking like tearing guys in half with his like knocking guys apart with his chains. I love this panel here on the bottom left side where it says, against them stands one lone soldier burdened by the sins of millions. And Spawn is shooting his cape into the guy's mouth.
Yeah.
And it's like coming out his ears and shit and like ripping his head open. Fucking killer. So awesome. Spawn caving a guy's head in with a fist one last line of defense between the murderous pack and the city they would slaughter. And you get this panel. This whole fight is very like anime to me. I love it. It's so cool. Simon Pure is yelling, "Kill him!" And you see Spawn basically like you see the one big boot kicking a vampire in the stomach as they're all
It's so
coming at
cool.
him. It's so good. I
He's like
love the
punting a
way
guy.
Angel Medina is okay. Todd McFarlane did a lot to revolutionize the way that people draw superhero anatomy in the 90s with his Spider-Man. That carried over into Spawn. He had a lot of killer poses. Greg Capullo took that even further. Sometimes there would be little anatomical quirks and stuff, especially in his cartooning. Angel Medina is just like, fuck it, dude. I don't care. He's a fucking creature and he's going to look like a creature. And it feels I can't say it had the same influence or impact on the industry, but it feels almost like Angel Medina saying, you know what? I'm going to do what Todd McFarlane did on Spider-Man, and I'm going to push this to my own limits in a way
Yeah.
that looks cool to me.
It
And
it
I love
also
that.
it also has that like Joe Mad kind of thing to it as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Well, like I
It
said, this
it
was an era
also
when that manga and anime influence is coming into a lot of like
that's the big thing I was going to say too. The shonen Dragon Ball Z type fight scene where
yes,
you like punch
yeah.
the shit out of a guy, but also it has like
He's
a bit
like
of
powering up and everything.
but it has a little bit of Looney Tunes to it too, where
Yeah, it sure does.
it's just like goofy, like
It's
it's
a
a
little
little silly.
madcap.
Yeah, like it's weird because we talked about this a lot with Hellspawn, where we were like, oh, this is clearly a more like adult, like mature reader's book. It very much does not have any of this kind of stuff, and it's funny because like this is an extremely violent book, but you can give it to a 12-year-old, like
You know,
they'll be fine.
oh yeah, absolutely. He's kicking a vampire. A vampire getting killed is nothing to a teenager or a kid. It's nothing to a kid.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, especially not to me. I was built different as a child, and I loved horror movies and
Yeah,
vampires and shit. I didn't like face to face stuff when I was a kid. I did not like haunted houses. Love them now, but I was like, I don't want someone to
or
purposely scare me like that.
kissing
Well,
because
I
you didn't like
mean,
face to face stuff.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I just watched the movie The Monkey from earlier
Solid
this
movie.
year.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
decent.
The best thing about it was the wacky, crazy like kills,
Yeah,
and that's what this kind of makes me think of in a way, is like that kind of violence where it's like you're meant to be like, oh shit, like
does one guy get
Spawn.
like a chain pulled through him or something?
That's the very beginning. Is the
Yeah.
guy? Spoiler alert.
Well,
The
whatever.
opening scene, a
It's been
guy
out for
gets
like a
shot
year.
with a like harpoon gun, and it like retracts and pulls his like
That's what it is.
intestines
Yeah.
out. But the kind of energy of that movie is like, this is fucking gruesome, and also you're meant to be laughing at like how fucking ridiculous and improbable these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
are, and how sudden and weird and like gruesome. Kind of, I gotta say, one more little tangent here because we're reaching the end of these issues. Osgood Perkins, who directed that, great name for a director, by the way.
Hmm.
I've seen a couple of his films. He did Long Legs. Did you see that?
I didn't.
It was kind of had some very interesting stuff. Nicolas Cage, really weird and great in it. The ending, the last act, kind of shits the bed real hard. Monkey
Really?
did a little better, but the monkey made me feel like, man, this guy could do Spawn too. Like, you could see him getting the like horror movie part of it along with the like you said, that kind of madcap like
I mean,
weirdness
listen.
of it.
When your dad was Norman Bates, you better start making horror movies.
Oh shit, his dad was Anthony Perkins, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I'm not read his fucking like biography or whatever,
I mean,
but how about that? Osgood, what a good name.
yeah.
You don't meet too many
He was also
Osgoods.
in Legally Blonde.
Yeah, I knew he was an actor as well as a filmmaker.
So
He's in some of his own movies and cameos and stuff too, I think.
yeah. Anyway, we still have a fight scene going on, and Simon Pure is very upset And Spawn says, "You wanted a sinner, Simon. You wanted a sinner, Simon." That's a little tongue twister. "Here I am. See if you can take me."
Yeah, Simon's
And I,
ranting. He's like, "There shall be no heaven for the wicked. I have come not to bring peace, saith the Lord, but to bring us, or but to bring a sword." Pretty good.
yeah. And then he says, "See if you can take me," and we just see bodies flying. Like,
Yeah,
it's
so
great.
sick.
Yeah.
There's
We cut
almost
back.
a energy of like Berserk or something in here, where it's
Yeah.
just like fucking crazy fights.
Spawn should get a sword that big.
Yeah, why doesn't Spawn have a huge sword?
Because I guess like Dark Ages Spawn has a sword or
I
an
guess that's
axe.
fair,
I
but
don't know.
like,
It's
I still
fine.
want to. I still want to see it.
Give me like a cloud strife
Yeah, like a
ass
huge
fucking
Buster
sword.
sword. Fucking yeah.
Cut back to Ab and Zab. They're with Maximilian Williams, and they're trying to help him. And they go down to sort of like the sanctuary level, and we see the mark of whatever, the Christian vampire, the kingdom, and they just ask, like, "You think it's big enough? It'll have to do." Cut back to Spawn, and the reason that we're fighting in Central Park is so that they don't have to deal with any safety concerns of
Right.
civilians, which is great. But
Spawn's
Spawn
just
is
ripping
ripping
up trees.
trees.
Yeah. Fucking flinging around the earth. And he's like, the game has changed. He said, "You wanted a sacrifice. You wanted a flock of docile lambs to lead to the slaughter. The game has changed. You don't get lambs. You get me. And I will bury you." And he's finally going for Simon Pure. As he's doing this and as he's leaping at Simon Pure for the final engagement here, Max says to Ab and Zab, "What are you doing?" And Ab says, "Just a little bit of arts and crafts, a little surprise for your toothsome friends." And Zab says, "See, it may not look like it now, but when we're gone, this here's going to be a door." And Max says, "Door?" And he says, "Yeah, a door to hell." And you can imagine that in terms of doorways with consequences on the other side, gonna be a big one.
Yep. And we're down to the final 2 pages.
I love Spawn and Simon Pure quipping at each other Bible phrases. Like Simon Pure saying, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." Spawn saying, "Judge not, lest you be judged." And Simon Pure calls all the vampires to feed on Spawn, and they all pile on.
And
And
from the final splash page, unclear how well they're actually doing, because it does seem that they are a blob connected by Spawn's cape.
it's fucking awesome.
Pretty crazy.
I love the action in these issues.
Yeah.
I love Spawn just doing Spawn's powers. Man, Spawn is a fucking cool comic. And we've said it a couple times through this story and through this series of issues, but like, if you're skipping these because of it's not the ones that quote unquote matter most to the like meta narrative, you're
You're just
missing
missing
good
out.
comics. You're
Hell yeah.
missing good comics that are fucking cool. And
Well,
I will always say that. I think a lot of the time we've again, we're broken records about this, but like sometimes people get obsessed with the idea of like which one matters,
mhm.
which one's the next chapter in the narrative. And the one that matters is the one that's fun to read and that impacts you as a good work of art.
Totally. I don't have any back matter this time around, so I think we can get right into final thoughts, George, if you want to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll just continue what I was saying, which
Yeah.
is these are fun fucking comics. I'm really, really loving Angel Medina. Like he's taken, much like Greg Capullo took a little while to like really grasp and also find his own voice on the title. Angel Medina is doing a great fucking job finding his own way to handle Spawn. And again, that last issue that we read, 112, some of my favorite Spawn fighting action of all time. Like, I love a cool fight scene like that. Fight scenes can be hard to nail in comics because you have to, the choreography has to be a mix of script and art, and at least in generally in modern comics.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be tough. It's kind of like this. They say a character is only as smart as the writer.
Mm.
And in some ways, it's also true of action and fight scenes. They can only be exciting as a writer can describe or an artist can draw, or the combination of those things. And so seeing an artist that gets to actually cut loose on some of this stuff with a character that can really make a meal out of that. Pretty sick.
Yeah, I had a good time with these two issues. I'll echo a lot of the things you said. Medina and the inking and coloring teams are just really working in sync in a way that we haven't seen so, so consistently in stories that are also super fun. You know, we've lamented not great villains before. We've had some cool fight scenes, but I think the problem is that we haven't had a lot of villains with minions that felt at all a match for Spawn. And I'm not
That's
saying that
true.
these vampires are a match,
Well,
but
but they have more to offer than like hordes of mafia goons.
right, exactly. A guy with a gun doesn't really feel like he can stop Spawn, whereas like 700 vampires do.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see Spawn problem solving for like, fuck, gotta fight a horde of zombies, not just one giant cyborg guy who I've beaten 6 times before. You know?
Right.
So there's something I think that that Holguin and McFarlane are sort of tapping into that I think happened around the lead up to 100 since the Green World stuff with the heap and stuff where they're like, oh, we kind of have to give him these more metaphysical sort of um, villains or just antagonists presences, you
Yeah.
know, that are not going to be so easily solved. Um, and I think that Urizen was like the first attempt at that, and then they realized they were like,
Yeah.
oh, he's just kind of one big dude though, and he's too big for us to put him in New York. Like we're seeing a lot of course correction here, right? The fight's in New York. The fight he wants to protect more people because
There are
he's taking on a
personal
more
stakes with Sam and Twitch. Yeah.
right. And that's the other thing too. We're getting the personal stakes of Sam and Twitch. We have oh my god, the book has a B plot. Like
Like an actual B plot that also ties into the main story and it's being conveyed.
yeah,
The writing is really picking up. And I mean,
yeah,
that's the thing, man. You know, you can say, oh, it took 110 issues to get here. And it's not like that. It's not like these are the first like coherent issues. Nothing like that at all. I would say the entire ride here has been worth it. I would also say that 100 issues into Spawn, 100 plus issues into Spawn at this point, we're at this point a full year after 100
yeah.
of issues. You'd think they would have that together, and they really do. Like that voice is coming through. I think Todd McFarlane is probably, you know, kind of understanding what he wants from Spawn on a month to month basis pretty strongly at this point. And I think he is also putting a lot of trust in Holguin to just keep hitting the marks that he wants.
Yeah, I agree. It does feel like they're just getting it done, and in the process, listen, we didn't love Medina when he first came out the gate, but I do think that as that inking team has become more robust, as they've figured out, oh, how do we do this with this guy who does things a lot differently than Capullo did? You know, it's a
These
learning
issues are
process.
just stellar. Like the
Yeah.
art looks so cool. I'll say that if I had read these Spawn issues when I was like, whenever, I guess I would have been 18 when this happened, when
Hmm.
this was out. True also then, but if I had read these as a teenager, these would have been comics that I would have been like looking and looking and looking at, trying to figure out how you draw like this and how you manage, how you think up what these panels look like and fit all the little vampires with their own little personalities in there. I'll say the writing in this arc has been great. The art has leveled up so much over the course of it.
Agreed. Absolutely. Well, that's it for these two issues. We're going to finish up the kingdom next week in Spawn issue 113, and then we'll get into the next arc a little bit. Before we go, George, you have any recommendations for our listeners?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to go back to a sort of philosophical recommendation.
All right.
And I'm going to say if you are feeling something in your life, some kind of narrative about yourself in your life that is kind of holding you back, that when you think of doing something, you think, oh, I can't do that. And I'm not talking about like if you have a disability or something like a diagnosis or something that affects your, you know, ability, your actual ability to do things. But if you have a story in your head that says, I can't do this, I'll fail, I will, you know, whatever, ask yourself, why not? Why can't I do it? What happens if I fail? interrogate that a little bit and try to use that interrogation to follow something that you keep asking yourself about and you keep denying in yourself.
Cool. Love it. I have a pretty normal recommendation for me. Gotta recommend Zach Cregger's not new film by the time this comes out, but most recent film, Weapons.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh boy.
Forgot you had already seen it, and by the time this comes out, our listeners will have likely seen it.
Hopefully seen it.
I will say, I'm not going to say any spoilers really, but
Sure.
Weapons was the S tier version of the D tier Long Legs.
I have seen a lot of people kind of like comparing the two.
There are similar vibes.
Yeah. Interesting.
And Weapons does it so much better. Fucking great movie.
Yeah, incredible film. I'm really excited for the Resident Evil thing that Zach Cregger's doing next. Man, let that guy do fucking Spawn.
Oh shit, that would be wild.
You know what? Partly because I think he could do Spawn in the way that I think Todd keeps talking about wanting to do it, where it's not super Spawn centric, and Spawn is a
seeing
presence
the way
within
that
the story.
Narrative of that movie worked.
Incredible.
Where it kind of splits the view between characters. You could see, I mean, that almost feels like a Spawn structure a lot of the time, where it's like we get some Salmon Twitch, we get some of this, we get some of that.
And that's partly because it feels a little bit like Frank Miller.
True.
In its way. You know?
I mean, that's a common narrative structure too. It's not like any of these things invented it, but yeah, highly recommend it. I'll piggyback on that as well and say Weapons was a fucking great film. Honestly, you know, while we're talking about it, did you feel like you took away a like big theme from that, or a thing that it was quote unquote about? Because I read some things from Zach Cregger's that I was like, huh.
I did kind of. And then what I was thinking it was versus what he said it was, I was like a degree or two off of exactly what he was getting at.
I mean, I think it's a valid death of the author thing, but I'm curious, what did you hear him say about it? Because I read at least one thing that I was like, huh.
I came into it knowing that people were like, oh, it's the school shooting movie. It's a school shooting movie. And I was like, okay. And then as I watched it, I was like, oh no, this is like a movie about abuse. Like,
I think it's about a lot of things.
Yeah. And then he was like, oh, it's about alcoholism. Like, it's about like being and he goes, because that's my experience is Alex's experience. That is being the child of alcoholics.
Okay. I see.
And I was like, and that's what I meant by like abuse. Like when I was like, oh no, it's like abuse. And then I was like, oh, I'm a couple degrees off of exactly what you were doing.
Well, I think that that's the same wheelhouse. And also what I was going to say is, to me, it is about not necessarily school shootings, although the theme of that as a like vibe is there. I think it's about the radicalization of children to violence through neglect and through their parents not recognizing or understanding the influences they're actually under.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something Zach Cregger's baked into it, but you know, death of the author, whatever. And this has been Weaponsography.
Zach Cregger, come on the show.
Fuck yeah.
And as a piggyback on the Weapons recommendation, I have recommended this many times, but Blank Check is doing Coen Brothers right now.
Oh, wow.
And they just had Zach Cregger on to talk about Fargo.
I bet
which
that's
was
great.
Super fun.
And see how Fargo seems like a big influence on some of his sensibilities.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I did just watch Fargo again. And man,
fucking great movie.
So good.
The fucking Peter Stormare at the end, just like smoking a fucking cigarette while he's shoving Steve Buscemi's legs in a wood chipper. Listen, if you're listening to Spawn, you got to know we're talking about this stuff. But yeah. Anyway,
we're not putting a trigger warning in the last 30 minutes, but I guess trigger warning.
Spoiler
alert for
a 30-year-old
movie.
It came out in 1968, which was actually 1985.
Oh, boy. All right. On this note,
1985 was 1993. It's crazy.
Oh boy. Well, George, before we go, I have one last thing to say. For Todd so loved the world,
he gave his only begotten Spawn.
See you later, Hellspawn.
Spawnography!
Spawnography is recorded in Athens, Georgia, and Queens, New York. It's produced by me, Pierce Lyden. Our theme music and logo were composed by George Marston. Episodes come out every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at Spawnography or at SpawnographyPod. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so at spawnographypod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, see you later, Hellspawn.